Hello and welcome to Pyrford Television Arts. I'm Tim Matthews. This is the third edition of our local arts programme that reflects the cultural and artistic richness of our unique Surrey county. And to celebrate, we're in our new larger studio, where in the months to come we'll be able to meet firsthand some of the people who are helping to shape the Surrey arts landscape. And talking of landscapes, later we'll be meeting a local artist who's made quite a name for himself with his landscapes and river views. David Drury returns to the spot where one of his most popular watercolours was produced and talks about his work. And we learn about the struggles a student fashion designer, Cameron Fitzgerald, has to contend with. Stephen Garlick visits him in his design studio. But we begin with a colourful montage for spring, with some words from William Wordsworth, read by Lorna Baines.
I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company.
Lorna Baines was reading Wordsworth's springtime poem, written in 1804. The accompanying pictures were by Karina Mayer and Hoost J. Baker. Now, have you ever wondered how fashion designers begin their latest creation? If you're a student, well, it's probably twice as daunting, because you might know what you want, but making that first cut or stitch is often the hardest. So we sent our own fashion guru, Stephen Garlick, to put that question to Cameron Fitzgerald, currently studying fashion design at Brooklands College here in Surrey. Steve asked Cameron how he begins a project.
Quite often I just grab a pencil and draw stuff down. Whether I actually see it through to being made or not is a different story with the finances and stuff like that. But yeah, I've got loads of designs that I just doodle away on and make them sort of better, or sometimes I find you have to go too far to see where you should have stopped and find where the design fits perfectly.
Well, let's turn to this very imposing gentleman here, and as I said, this is all your own work. Maybe we could sort of start from the head down and tell us how you came about designing the helmet and these very impressive horns here.
Well, it's all a traditional design. The actual helmet itself is made from a hard hat that your average builder would wear for the sake of ease of use. But yeah, it's all made in the traditional way with the lames that come down to protect the back of the neck. The lames. Lames,
right.
Neck guard, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, on closer inspection, I can see the hard helmet, the hard hat here, yes. I hadn't noticed that until you pointed it out to me here. Yeah. Now, to make all these individual lames, how are they done? They're obviously not done here at home, are they? You had to take them away, didn't you?
Yeah, my grandfather has a lot of tools. He's always been a woodworker, and he was a tailor. The whole thing in total took about 4 weeks, but I can remember sitting and weaving all of these individual laces. There's at least in the whole suit about 300 metres of lacing.
That's a lot, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, is there a kind of blueprint? Was there a design that you had down on a piece of paper that you thought, right, I'm going to follow this as closely as I possibly can to the finished result here, or was it all in your head?
Yeah, the original design looked quite a bit different actually. There weren't these huge horns on it, but I kind of changed my mind and went a slightly different direction as I was making it. But yeah, I tend to design something very rigidly first because I just find it helps me if I need to go back and look.
Are there any modern designers that sort of heavily influence you at all?
Fashion designers, not so much. I do like the work of Vivienne Westwood and people like that, the sort of punk genre. As for costume designers, Nyla Dixon, who worked on Lord of the Rings and The Last Samurai, she's a huge influence on me. I love her work.
because we're going back again to the Japanese influence.
The armour and sort of medieval stuff like that. I like a lot of Baroque style, old 18th, 17th century work. Anything that's got layers and layers of really heavy, opulent fabric, as opposed to sort of contemporary modern, where it's very sort of plain, I like to say.
Have you been able to incorporate any of that into, because I know you've been doing some theatre work recently. Tell us about that.
Yep, at Pyrford Little Theatre, I did their production, worked on costume design for Old King Cole. But it does present a different set of challenges. I mean, you have to make sure the costumes fit, you have to budget them properly. It's not like designing a garment that's going to go on mass production, where the size isn't going to change in your workshop. You have to do it yourself, kind of thing.
Yeah. And good experience, of course, anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's a great experience for my portfolio as well.
So Cameron, you're very much at the beginning of your career at the moment, but where do you see yourself in maybe 5, 10 years' time in the world of fashion?
I'd love to work in a large theatre, definitely somewhere like the Royal Opera House in London. I'm hoping to apply for an apprenticeship there, studying costume design or armoury, as something I'm really passionate about.
We can see from here that where the passion comes from. Yeah, this is your particular speciality, I guess, really, isn't it? And you'd like to be able to sort of build on that for the future. Yeah.
Fashion student Cameron Fitzgerald talking to Stephen Garlick. David Drury is a local artist with a worldwide reputation. His watercolours hang on many walls, not only in this country, but further afield too, like Holland and Canada. But locally, one of his most successful paintings has featured the River Wey. Approaching Walsham Gates captures the beauty of the river, as well as the lockkeeper's cottage in the background. We asked David to join us at Walsham Gates, one of many picturesque spots on the river, to find out why it has been and remains such a source of inspiration for him.
Well, I'm looking for points of interest, things which grab me as being something that I'd like to paint, and to no small degree what I think other people might like to see, and to capture that for all time, as it were. It's a sort of grandiose hope, but that's basically what I'm doing. And this particular scene is one that has all the ticks in the boxes as far as I'm concerned.
You do things in a slightly different way by using your camera first and then going home and then painting it.
I do it because the seasons would change, because I'm more of a traditionalist painter, and therefore it takes me quite a little while to get it done. And I find that day would turn to night and night back to day again before I finished. And so taking photographs is the only practical way of doing it. I have tried doing it sitting there, but I usually put my paintbrush in my coffee and then can't find where my water is. And then in the end, it all becomes a bit of a shambles. And so I pack up and go home. And one time I did try, it started to pour with rain and all the paper started to cockle. So to my mind, it's a thing of the past for me, that. You lose the light at your peril when you're doing watercolour painting because of the techniques you have to use. Yes, you do get people coming along and telling you, looking over your shoulder and saying, well, that don't look like that, or why haven't you put that in? Or you would have to suffer from that if you were painting outside all the time. And I must admit, in recent times, in weather like this, it's cold, etc., it's nicer to do it in a studio.
What advice have you got for anybody who thinks they may have a flair for painting?
Well, first of all, I think they should make sure they're using the right papers, got the right materials, and don't think you're going to become the world's greatest artist by painting one day a week or going to one evening class a week. It's something like all these things you have to really work at and practice, and painting for an hour every day, if that's possible, or as often as you can, I think is a very important thing. And learning that you make mistakes and not to get discouraged by that, and to maybe watch and listen to other people who have been down the same trail as you as to how they overcame their problems and became good painters. Well, I've done many commissions for people who want to have for their parents or special occasions, have their houses painted or boats or anything, a particular scene painted. And yes, through the internet, they give me an email, and provided it's not too obscure, like painting a lot of people at a wedding coming out of a church door, which I refuse to do. I do a lot of commission work of that nature, and I also have a few interesting sales. I recently was asked to give a license to the Canadian History Channel, who were doing a series of programs on great Europeans, and they were, I think, doing Victoria and Albert as one of their episodes, and they had one of my paintings of Windsor Castle as the backdrop, and they were doing an a la Monty Python take of a carriageway clip-clopping its way up towards Windsor Castle. So that was an interesting one to do.
And more locally, you've had Woking Council have been in touch with you.
Well, yes, the mayor a couple of years ago, he wanted for his office some local paintings, and I was one of 3 people who actually painted this particular scene here at Walsham Gate for him, and as far as I know, painting sits in the mayor's office.
Stephen Garlick was talking to David Drury, and you can learn more of David's work by going to the Pyrford TV Arts website and clicking on the link. Well, that just about wraps up this spring edition of Pyrford TV Arts. If you'd like to get in touch, we'd love to know your thoughts. The email address is on the screen now. Thanks to all our guests for their contributions to the programme, and a new edition of TV Arts will return to your screen in 3 months' time with a preview on the website just before then. Do join us in August. I'm Tim Matthews, and from all of us here at Pyrford Television Arts, goodbye.